to set up the HolidayCoro FM outdoor waterproof transmitter for use with a HinksPix Pro. First is what's in the kit. So in the kit we have the transmitter. It is waterproof, and we have a regular wall wart. This is typically used if you're using it indoors or if you have a 5-volt power supply. And then we have a power supply cord, and you can see that it is marked in red and black, so that's positive and negative. And this is used when you're powering your transmitter off your controller, and we'll show you that in just a moment. We also have a double male 1/8 inch jack, and that plugs one end into the audio input and then also into the HinksPix. A few clarifying pieces of information. The first is audio comes out in specific locations depending upon your particular setup. If you're playing your sequences from your PC, the audio is coming from your PC, and you would need to take the audio input from your PC. If you are playing your sequences from an SD card on your HinksPix Pro controller or another type of controller that has built-in audio, the audio will be coming out of the 1/8 inch jack. Now your jack may be different. In this particular case, this is a version 1.2. It's coming out here, and we can see on this version 3, it is over here on the left. Now this is a line level output with 1 volt, and you can also output and split the signal to go to a speaker-based system if you want. Now, the first thing to understand about FM transmitters are that the distance is regulated by the U.S. government. This product is intended to be sold and utilized in the U.S. only. It is a fully licensed and legal FCC transmitter. Because the distance that's managed by the FCC is limited, we need to make sure that the distance is maximized by doing a few things. The first step is selecting a frequency as low as possible. So in the US, we have a frequency starting at 88.1, and then we have odd numbers, so like 88.1, 88.3. Go to the website radiolocator.com, and you can actually look up what radio stations are in your area, find an empty station area that is not occupied. I do also recommend turning on a radio and just checking to make sure that there's nothing really there, and then putting that unit on the lowest frequency possible. I do not recommend using higher frequencies like 107 and that type of thing. You'll always get the best results with a lower frequency. Also, less pixels in your Tune 2 sign too. All right, now the other way you increase the output is to get this outside as close as possible to the viewers. Now you're somewhat limited because if you're outputting from your controller directly and it is in the yard, that is where the audio is coming from. You cannot send the audio over the network or through the network cables. It has to come out of the actual controller or your PC. Now, from this point forward, we will only be talking about a situation in which we're running our FM transmitter from the audio, playing on our SD card of a HinksPix Pro out of the output jack of that controller. Now, if you don't know if you're outputting audio, put up a set of headphones, plug them in here, and listen to see if you hear any audio. If you don't see anything or hear anything, that's an indication you are not putting out audio. You have some other issue, your sequence or your audio file is not the right format or some other issue. All right. So the first thing we need to do is wire up the power to this unit. Now there's a DC power input here, and it is for 12 volts, and then we have the audio. So let's start off, and in this particular case, this is a 12 volt, you can see that, 12 volt power supply, and so we're going to use our regular power cable without the wall wart, and what we're going to do is simply just tap on to the existing 12 volts. Now you could do that in here, down here, where the power is in. In this particular case, this power supply is horizontal, so it's easily accessible, and we can just tap onto that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here. You'll see that this is marked plus on this side. So these 3 terminals are plus, these 3 are negative. So I'm just going to use my unused terminal. And what I'm going to do is I am first going to run the cable through my pixel cable section here. So I'm just going to loosen up this cable, and this is so that we can get the power out of the box. So I'm just going to put my cable through here. This is my power cable. There we go. And I'm also going to go ahead and run my audio. And again, we don't really want to put the transmitter in the box because the box could restrict the amount of signal coming out of it. We want to get this above and as high as possible and outside the box if possible. All right, so now we have our audio cable here and our power cable. So I'm just going to snake that over there, and I'm going to simply just make sure we put this under the terminal here. And I'm going to screw this down. Now, it goes without saying at this point, we do not want to have this unit powered on while we're doing this. You should never work on a powered on controller. All right, so I'm going to put this one under the existing terminal here. Make sure that's fully tightened down. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and plug in my audio jack right here. And there's the other end of the power jack. So I'm just going to loosen up this connection here. And what we can see here is at the bottom, we have the power on the right here, and we have our audio on the left. So what I'm going to do, go ahead, just run my cable through that, plug it in. So you may need to pull this out to get that up there. This is just the waterproof bung there that goes in there. So I'm going to push that up in there. Oops. Yep. So, of course, make sure you have your nut on there first. And we've got that fully seated in there. And then I'm just going to tighten that up so that's nice and tight. And I'm going to do the same thing for my audio cable here. So I'm going to locate my cable, put, of course, my nut through there first, and then just slide my audio cable up in there, and then tighten that down so that's nice and tight. Neither of these should come out once they are tightened. All right, now I would, of course, normally go ahead and tighten up my clamp here, but for brevity, we're just going to go ahead and plug it in. So, okay. So we've got our transmitter. It is already set to 88.1, and now you need to make sure that your controller is actually playing a sequence. So if your show is, let's say, scheduled and is not on right at that moment, it will not be outputting audio. So you need to make sure that you are outputting audio to this jack. Again, you could confirm with a set of headphones, but make sure that your display is indicating that you are, in fact, playing a song and your show is active. All right, so the navigation of these buttons, this is frequency, positive or negative, and so this has backlighting, so you can see it at night if you need to change it. So you can see it flips around, and we'll just go ahead and we can hit plus to go up and set the transmit frequency. This is a mute if you wish to turn off the transmitting. That will mute it, and it will have this little symbol, I don't know if you can see that, up at the top. It is flashing a little no speaker sign. Okay. And this is the volume control, and sometimes depending upon what the input power level, depending upon a PC, various different devices, they'll put up different voltages, and thus it'll create different amounts of output. So if your audio seems distorted, you may want to go ahead and adjust the amounts up or down. Now, in normal cases, this should come out of the box and plug in, work perfectly fine with your HinksPix Pro. But if you have an unusual circumstance or you're hooking up to PC or those types of things, also be sure to test that. Now, if you also get distortion, even after you adjust the volume, make sure that your audio coming out is correct. So again, use, let's say, a set of headphones or plug it into a stereo system, whatever you do that has an amplifier, and check to make sure that your audio is not distorted before it comes out. So if you're getting distortion before it gets to the transmitter is just going to transmit your distortion. So, now, you want to go ahead and place this as far up as possible, ideally away from too many metal components, and the FM transmitter will go through this built-in antenna. You should not change or replace this FM transmitter antenna. That is against FCC regulations. All right, so that completes the entire process to set up the FM transmitter from HolidayCoro. And if you should ever have any questions, of course, always feel free to reach out to us at holidaycoro.com/contact us.